Hello everyone, welcome back to my next video. Today we're beginning a series on dogs and cats on the road. There'll be all kinds of videos in this one. I'll talk to my veterinarian about ideas. We'll have a round table with other people with dogs and cats and how they've had dogs and cats on the road. All kinds of different things we'll talk about. But today we're going to begin with this very simple question. Should I even begin to have a dog or a cat on the road? Now you'll notice right off the bat that I'm talking about dogs and cats. I'm not talking about birds and other kinds of pets. I don't know enough about those to comment on them and give you advice on what you should do with them. I have known people with birds on the road. It was more complicated carrying birds on the road, but they did it and successfully, so it can be done. That's something you're going to have to figure out for yourself. I really just can't help you. We're going to talk about dogs and cats, just because that's what I know. I've never had a cat on the road. I've known a lot of people. I've known a couple dozen people. That's not really a lot, is it? But I've known at least a couple dozen people with cats on the road, so enough to have a basic idea. And we'll do a round table and they will talk for themselves. I really won't address cats. I will address dogs because I know dogs on the road. Since 2008, I've had a dog on the road constantly, and so I'm pretty familiar with what is involved in having a dog on the road. So today we're going to begin with the very simple question: should you even consider having a dog or a cat on the road? What are the pluses and minuses? So if we're going to have a truly honest discussion about having dogs and cats on the road, we really need to look critically and say, these are the problems with a dog or a cat on the road. And then we'll also look at the positive reasons why you really should. And then you can make up your own mind, make up your own decision. And then we'll have different videos. The one with the, if you do decide to bring a dog, we'll have a video with my vet, who is also an RVer. And he runs a vet clinic in Williams, Arizona. And he'll tell us all about special issues with dogs and cats on the road. And really good video. He's a great vet, and I think he did a really good job. Okay, so let's just begin with this simple question. Should I even consider having a dog or a cat on the road? And I'll begin with reasons why you should not, just to be completely fair and honest. And there are good reasons why you should not have a dog or cat on the road. And so let's talk about them. Number one, many of us are on a really tight budget. So you need to think about, can I afford to have a dog or a cat on the road? First, you have the cost of the food. Then you have the cost of the vet bills. And, you know, we take better care, more loving care of our pets generally than we do even of our own selves. I'm quick to take my dog to the vet. If there's a real concern at all, he goes to the vet. I can't hardly make myself go to the doctor. My last two dogs on the road, both had some pretty major health issues and were very expensive. Of course, they eat food, and that's an ongoing expense you'll always have. I tried to figure out roughly what it would cost. I would say $50 to $100, depends on how well you feed your dog and the quality of the food you feed your dog. You're aware that owning a dog can be very expensive, especially with vet bills and medications. Even when you go to put them down, that's an expensive thing you have to do. So number one is it costs money, and I think you're all pretty tuned in and aware that owning a dog is going to cost you some money and can end up costing you a lot of money. Number two, the big reason for a lot of you why you wouldn't want a dog is the travel restrictions. I mean, we choose to become nomads because we love freedom and we love to travel when and where and how we want. Well, when you get a dog, boy, that puts a big bite in travel restrictions. You don't have the freedom you used to have. I'm in Florida now with my dog at my mom's, but we're in my mom's. I don't see how a person could possibly live with a dog in Florida in a van. It's just too miserable. It's too miserable for me. It's certainly too miserable for my dog. And so heat and cold place a severe travel restriction. Maybe you can't go to the store during the day because your dog will be too hot or too cold. Maybe certain places you can't be. National parks, state parks, wildlife refuges. There are places where they simply will not allow a dog in. They can't be anywhere but on roads or a very few trails. There are places where a dog is a big problem and you just can't take one. Another problem is you can't leave them for very long. You know, if you leave your dog 8 hours, that's a long time. If you leave your dog 12 hours, that's about the limit and you're coming home to a mess. They just, you know, you can't go off and leave them. You decide you want to go travel international. There's this great airfare to someplace you'd love to go. And you have the time and you happen to have the money right now and a friend wants to go and writes you and says, let's go. And you can't go because you got your dog. What are you going to do with your dog? You're going to board him. That costs him more money. You're going to worry about him because he's lonely and misses you and you miss him. So your travel restrictions are pretty severe with you just can't leave him. You can't just up and go and leave him. So international travel is one of them. You have a family emergency. All of a sudden a family member is ill and you have to go and be with them for whatever reason. And what are you going to do with your dog or your cat? You've got to board them. You've got to find a friend to take care of them. Travel restrictions are very real and a very good reason why a lot of people choose not to have a dog or a cat. Okay, third, they demand a lot of time and attention. I mean, they demand a lot of time. My dog wants my physical attention and touching him a lot. I mean, I've got a dog who just loves to be petted and touched. But they demand your time. You've got to walk them. If you're in a city, you have to find a place to walk them and take them out for walks. You've got to take the time to feed them and you've got to clean after them. And they just take a lot of your time. It takes a lot of time to clean up after a dog. If you live in a van and it starts raining, you become really aware of how your dog goes out and runs around in mud and then jumps up in the van and jumps up on the bed and jumps up in his chair and jumps up on your chair and there's mud everywhere. I mean, I know this from direct experience. I carry a waterproof cover that I put on everything so that after it's rained and he's come in, he's not got mud all over my bed because he's up on my bed with me a lot. The same thing with shedding. My dogs have been shedders and my van's just covered with hair. I'm covered with hair. So cleanliness suffers. I mean, you got a dog, you're aware cleanliness suffers. Now there are a few dogs that hypoallergenic and all that, but they still have to go outside in the mud and they still have to come in and you still have to clean their paws and they're still going to be a little wet. They come in from sand. I mean, the desert, everywhere in the desert is sand. They always track in a little sand on their paws. Their paws sweat. They actually get wet. So when they jump in, they've actually got a little sand stuck on them and you get sand everywhere. They just contribute to cleanliness issues. And it's just something you're going to have to decide. Do I want to put up with this by having a dog as a nomad? And maybe it's worth it to you and maybe it isn't. But you need to be aware that it is a big issue. Another issue is there's a lot of extra danger for dogs on the road. If you're at a truck stop, he jumps out, you're not aware of it, you get in, drive away, you could be 100 miles down the road and you think, where's my dog? And then you turn around and you go back and he's gone. You can't find him. There's an extra danger that isn't really there for a lot of people in houses. And so, yeah, there's always danger even for a city dog, but I think the dangers are a little worse out for a nomad dog. Being left on the road accidentally is one of them. Wild animals is a substantial danger to dogs and particularly to cats. I've had coyotes stalk my dog. I've had both dogs were at one time or another stalked by coyotes. My dogs have never been chased by a bear, but my dogs have chased bears, literally. I've had both my dogs chased by coyotes. I had a group of coyotes once that tried to lure Cody out. I saw one and he saw the one and barked at it, and then I looked back and there were 3 or 4 more coyotes all waiting, and this one had come to lure it out. Maybe it was a dog in coyote in heat, I don't know. I couldn't smell it, but Cody was very interested. And they were going to lure him out and then kill him and eat him. And they followed us. I could see them just outside of reach and almost out of sight, hidden in trees, but the pack followed us back to camp. We packed up and left that next morning because they were going to sit around camp and wait for Cody to come out, and they would have killed him and ate him. He would have been food. So there is a special danger there from coyotes and bears and mountain lions. I've had encounters with mountain lions where I was convinced Cody had been eaten. I won't go into it. It's another long story. So there's real danger, real serious danger if you go out to where they are. And most of you will never do that. You're not going to go out like I do. So this won't apply to you, but there's always more danger because I've seen coyotes in camp, especially in the desert. I've had coyotes right in my camp. In the desert. So it's a real issue to be very concerned about. There's special danger. And little dogs and cats are both at special danger of birds of prey. Owls. An owl will take a little 4-pound dog or a 5 or 6-pound cat just like that. I've seen owls swoop down and grab rabbits. Just boom. Here's a rabbit. I'm watching a rabbit at dusk. Boom, that rabbit's gone and in the air with an owl. I've seen it happen myself numerous times. I've seen squirrels. Boom, there's it's gone. Gone and dead, eaten. And so that's a very, very real risk with hawks and owls and all birds of prey. They're out there, and your little cat and dog is a meal for them, a great meal for them. Probably the most serious risk is that your dog will get separated from you. He'll run away. He'll get lost. And someone will find him and take him home. And then he'll go on and have a good life, hopefully. He'll get turned in and someone will rescue them. But that is really probably the greatest and most realistic fear for the majority of us. That somehow you'll get separated from your dog, someone else will find him and take him home. If no one does find him and he's out there alone, he will simply probably die. Most our dogs and cats don't know how to fend for themselves in real wild nature. And then, of course, there's always a risk of getting run over. I'm very careful never to camp too close to a main road because I don't want my dog to be run over. ATVs in particular and motorcycles are a real risk because that's what I'm out. Mostly that's what I see it. These guys running up on the road, running down the road at 70, 80 miles an hour, and my dog runs out in front of them and gets run over. Finally, a reason why you may not want to have a dog is that they die. And they live short lives, and I've heard many people say to me, the last time one of my dogs or cats died, it just broke my heart so bad I swore I'll never get another one. And so for a lot of you, just the very fact that they live so short and you become so attached to them, that means you're not going to get another one because they die. And believe me, I understand that. When your beloved pet dies, it's just heartbreaking. The pain endures for months. It endures for years. I can still think back to putting some of my dogs down and just thinking about it long enough and hard enough, I can be crying. And finally, a reason why you would not get a dog is if you're older, because you're going to die. I am 62. I think I'll have Cody for another 8 or 10 years. And when Cody dies, I'll be 72. I don't believe I'll get another dog at 72 because I'm going to die. Sometime or another after 72, I'm going to die. That's just a statistical fact. Half the men who reach the age of 60 will be dead at 80. So sometime between 60 and 80, half of the men in this country die. You know, that's not good odds. And so if I get another dog at 72 and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I go to sleep some night and I die in my sleep, which is a good way to go. I'd be happy to do that. Well, here's my dog trapped inside with me. The dog is doomed to a horrible death while he's trapped inside the van with me if I happen to be out somewhere alone, and I usually am. So past 72, I'm going to die and I'm too old and I'm not going to get another dog. All perfectly good reasons that you should not get a dog, and I'm not trying to talk you into getting a dog. I want you to go into this thing eyes wide open. Having a dog on the road is a bigger problem, and there are reasons why you very well may decide, I will not. And so by making you aware of that, I think I'm doing you a favor. So I'll stop there. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, share us with your friends, tell everyone else, and remember to live your fullest and best life. Till next time, we'll see you later.
you.